All right, so Joseph's brothers are on their way to Egypt. It's happening. Let me tell you why this is such a big deal and why you should watch this video all the way to the end because it gets really, really good. All right, so we're going to be looking at Genesis chapters 42 verses 1 through 38. So let's go ahead and jump right into the text. Now, last week we looked at how Joseph got his revenge on his brothers for selling him into slavery years ago. But now things are about to take an interesting turn. You see, Joseph didn't just save his 11 brothers from starvation by sending them to Egypt to buy grain. He also saved them from each other. You know, they had some beef. They were not cool anymore after what went down in Genesis chapters 37 and 38. But in today's passage, things are about to change dramatically when these two groups meet up again. So let's go ahead and look at this passage. It says that Joseph made himself known to his brothers. Joseph told his servants to bring the men to his house and give them a bath and shave them. And he told them to prepare a feast for them. And after they did that, Joseph went to see them. Joseph greeted his brothers warmly and introduced himself to them. His brothers couldn't believe that he was Joseph who they sold many years ago. They were filled with guilt and shame, and they confessed to him that they had sinned against him. They said that they planned to kill him out of revenge for what he did to them, but that God turned their evil plan into good by making him a ruler in Egypt. They asked him to forgive them for what they did. Joseph, being the kind and merciful person that he was, forgave them. He told them that God sent him to preserve life in Egypt and Judah, and then he assured them that he wasn't going to hold their past against them. I know this is quite a dramatic moment, but trust me, this story gets even better. After comforting his brothers, Joseph brought them to his house and gave them everything they needed. They lived in his house for 3 days, feasting and celebrating. And then on the 3rd day, he gave them gifts and sent them back home with grain for their families. The brothers were overjoyed to have found Joseph again, and they were grateful for his forgiveness and kindness. Now let's be honest here. This is one of the most insane plot twists in biblical history. I mean, we've got mistaken identities, long-lost relatives, decades of pent-up resentment finally getting resolved. And just when you thought it couldn't possibly get any better, Joseph throws in a little bit of redemption on top of all that. Like this guy went from enslaved to Pharaoh to secretly judging his own brothers without them even realizing it was him. That's some next-level stuff right there. And I want you to notice something else. Joseph's brothers come to Egypt as prisoners, bound and determined to steal grain so they can take it back to their starving family in Canaan. Yet within 3 days, they leave as honored guests with sacks full of grain and treasures from Pharaoh's court. I mean, that's a major plot twist. Like if you would have told me that these guys were going to be eating the good stuff off of King Tut's table while wearing fine linen clothes, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But here we are. So what do we learn from this crazy story? Well, first of all, I think it teaches us that God is good and just. You see, Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery out of jealousy and hatred. And for 20 long years he suffered as a slave in Egypt. But in the end, God vindicated him and exalted him to the highest levels of power in Egypt. This teaches us that God doesn't just deliver his people from trouble. He often raises them up to places of prominence and honor. This is a great reminder for anyone who's been through a difficult time in their life to know that God is not finished with them yet. He may allow them to go through hard times, but he will never leave them there. Secondly, I think this passage teaches us that reconciliation is possible. Joseph's brothers came to Egypt as enemies, but they left as friends. They acknowledged their sin and repented before Joseph, and he forgave them and welcomed them into his house. This gives me hope for anyone who has broken relationships in their life. Don't give up on reaching out to that person and trying to reconcile. You may be surprised at how open they are to hearing your side of the story and forgiving you. Finally, I want to say this. Don't miss an opportunity to help someone in need, especially when they don't know it's you. Helping someone in need is one of the most rewarding things we can do. We get the chance to make a positive impact on someone's life and show them the love of Christ. So if you see someone who's struggling, don't hesitate to reach out and help them. You never know what kind of difference you could make in their life. Okay, now before we close, I want to ask you for a favor. Would you pray for this ministry? We are trying to reach as many people as possible with the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we need God's blessing on our efforts. So would you just close your eyes for a moment and ask God to help us reach more people with the message of the gospel? Thank you. Well, that's it for me this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Adventures of Joseph. If you did, make sure to leave me a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an upload. I'll see you next time.